Hello everyone, Nov24 here once again, this time presenting to you another tournament and a brand new way to play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That I'm really excited about, and that would be GOAT format Commander. It's the closest I could think of to making the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Magic the Gathering's Commander format or EDH, without making a lot of wacky rules, destroying the game, or making certain decks way too underpowered or overpowered. Basically, as you can see here, which this document will be linked in the description as well as in the comments. You choose a GO format monster to represent your deck. Then you can only play monsters of that type, attribute, archetype, or ability in your deck. Which for those of you who don't know, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Being a Spirit, Union, or Toon monster is called an ability. Because we figured that decks might be a little too similar otherwise, we're currently banning all light, dark, spellcaster, and warrior monsters, as well as Morphing Jar as your commander. You could still play them in your deck if your commander allows, but you can't have them as the commander themselves. You can also play some token makers as your commander, and those have their own special rules that you can read in the document or on your screen. Once you've chosen your commander, you build a deck of 41 cards, including your commander, and because it's a Highlander format, you can only play one of each card in the deck. Maybe in the future we'll add some special exceptions for cards like Thunder Dragon or Nimble Mamanga that only use copies of themselves and not other monsters, but for now, this is the rules that we're applying to everything, just one copy. You also can't play any spells or traps that summon tokens or themselves that don't fit your commander. So you can't play, for instance, Scapegoat in a deck that uses a Fire Winged Beast as your commander. Once you've done that, your deck's ready to play, but because this is Commander, before the game starts, or, well, if you're playing in real life, before the game starts, or if you're playing online after the game starts on Dueling Book, etc., you remove your commander from play, and after the first turn of the game, you're allowed to play your commander anytime you normally would be able to either play it from your hand or your deck. So say, for instance, you have Burglar as your commander, you can use your normal summon to summon it once, or if you trigger the effect of Giant Rat, you can choose to special summon it instead of a monster from your deck. If that confuses you, it's a little more clarified in the document, but basically think of it as if you always have your commander in your hand or deck, except you can't interact with it or have it interacted with, other than playing it as you normally would. There's a bunch of special exceptions and clarifications for things in the document, but you don't have to read the whole thing if you don't want to, because all of those rules are additive instead of reductive, meaning that they don't prevent you from doing anything that you wouldn't normally be able to do in GO format. They only add things that you can opt into if you so wish. For instance, one of the exceptions that we have is that if you have Burglar as your commander, you can actually play the Dark Scorpions and Don Zalug in your deck, which you normally wouldn't be able to do in any deck because they're dark warrior monsters, and you can't have either of those as your commander. With all of the rules out of the way, I'd like to show you some sample builds that TKGriffiths, Rozbash, and Conquer made for the format, just to give you some ideas. So right here, we see a Manticore of Darkness deck by TKGriffiths. So for Manticore of Darkness, it is a Fire Beast Warrior, so you can only play Fire and Beast Warrior monsters, but also because it has Winged Beast and Beast Monster related effect, we allowed you to play those in your deck as well. So I think that Manticore of Darkness is a relatively powerful commander, and I think that there are some standout commanders that are probably more powerful than others, but as you'll see in a bit, like the relative power level for commanders, it comes more in what you can do with the deck, and also they can do some things with other commanders that you wouldn't really expect normally. For instance, if you have a commander that's level 4 higher, you can just play things like Brain Control and Soul Exchange because you know that they're always going to be live, pretty much. But also, we could see here, another build by TKGriffiths is Metalfish, and normally you wouldn't be able to play this card in a Go format deck. It would be kind of like pointless. It's really weak, just a vanilla. It's a level 5 with only 1600 attack and 1900 defense. But in this case, you actually want to play it because not only do you get to play water monsters, which are pretty good, you also get to play machine monsters, which are pretty good, so your deck makeup is pretty decent. And also, again, you get to play Brain Control and Soul Exchange to automatically be able to use removal on the opponent's monsters. And you can play some synergy cards with it, like Legendary Ocean, to be able to normal summon it without having to do the tributes if you so wish. Then here you can see in the bottom we have a Alevia Dragon deck, or Daedalus deck, and this one opts to play both Umi and Legendary Ocean, which we did allow because they do have different printed names. So that's one of the things. You can also play Harpies, and you can have one of 3 different types of Harpies in your deck. But you can see here it's a difference in builds between the two. Some of the cards are the same, of course, but you're going for a different strategy. Like you could even play Unshaven Angler in this deck, but they have Neo Daedalus in the deck, and ways to tribute them off, like Revival Jam, which isn't as important in the other deck. And of course, because you're running more field spells, you actually get more value out of terraforming. You can play things like Gagagigo alongside your Legendary Ocean. Then we have here the Yamada Dragon deck. It's a fire deck, and I think it's pretty cool. I think there's some cards that you could still play in this that they didn't, such as Stray Lambs, to be able to tribute set your Yamada Dragon, because you can set your commander as well. But we see here that it's a spirit monster, so they're allowed to play these spirit cards even though they're not either fire or dragon. So that's one advantage to playing something like Yamada Dragon over another card. And here we have a build from Conquer, which is Giant Axe Mummy. So zombies have some pretty good cards. They're not as good in this because you only get to play 1 Pyramid Turtle, so your targets are going to be pretty slim. But you do get to also play the Giant Rat if you are playing an Earth zombie, which I think that zombies in Go Format only have Earth or Dark attributes. So I think if you're playing a zombie, you're always going to have access to Giant Rat. But anyway, so it's not as strong, but I would say it's still pretty decent because it's really difficult for your opponent to out your monsters if you do happen to get off Pyramid Turtle's effect. But anyway, that is all the decks, and that is the format. We're going to be running this tournament on the 24th, but signups for the tournament are opening right now, so be sure to head over to the Casual Go Format Discord, which I will have linked in the description and in the comments, and join up, have some fun. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them either in the comments or on the Discord. And there's a lot of people that are playing, testing their decks for this format too, so feel free to gain the commander tag and tag some people to try to get some test games in. Thank you very much, and have a good one.